those who were involved in making it come to life. Join us as we go behind the door.
Welcome back to the last episode of Behind the Doors for Season 2 with the Grey Rooms podcast. I am your host, Brooks Bigley, and tonight we are discussing our season finale episode, Outside, written by Michael Zenke. This story wraps up Samantha Winter's epic journey through the Grey Room, Season 2, The Hotel. With me tonight, we have the author of the finale, Michael Zenke.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi, Zenke. How are you?
I'm good.
We also have Graham Rowat in the building.
Hi, everybody.
I mean, does he ever really leave?
And over there with all the sound effects is producer extraordinaire, Jason Wilson.
Now recording.
How are you, gentlemen? How is everybody tonight?
Not too bad.
Great.
Yeah.
Lots of different time zones, lots of different degrees of food consumption.
Yeah.
We caught Jason with a salad.
Some people are in the process of eating dinner. Some are still waiting. We're recording this on Canada Day, so the process of eating.
Wow.
You guys don't know what it's like being a Canadian living in the United States. Every time I come across process, my brain has a little hemorrhage because there's a part of my soul that says process. Sorry, Brooks, I derailed us. We're doing good.
It is quite all right.
Happy Canada Day to all of our brothers and sisters up north.
Yes, you'll hear this 2 weeks from now, but
Yes.
Well, we didn't come here to talk about food, so what are we here for, gentlemen? What are we here to discuss? What did we just finish doing here?
we finished Samantha's journey.
Yeah. Good times.
I mean, I'm not sure she would agree with that, but
Yeah.
metaphorically good times.
Right.
I mean, not for her, but yeah, I had
It's
a good
true.
time.
It's true.
Just heartbreaking, guys. It hurt me. It was what was narratively satisfying about the ending was that we got to know one Samantha who was kind and was inquisitive and developed a friendship with Todd, and then we also discovered that there's another Samantha who's a monster. And so I felt sad for the loss of the nice Samantha, but I knew it was inevitable because it's the Grey Rooms, and B, she'd also done terrible things.
Yeah, she was powerful, man. I really loved how that power she had, the whammy there. I just loved that. That was my favorite part of her when she actually kind of got a little darker. I really enjoyed the whole ending of the season. It was really fun listening to her. She was awesome.
Kind of feels like a theme there is that there's a little bit of a monster inside all of us, Graham.
Oh, what?
Look at this.
What?
Wow.
It's the monster that thinks process.
Well, yeah, and we were all rooting for Samantha, and kind of like season 1. I mean, I was rooting for Raymond, knowing what he did, and here we are rooting for Samantha, and we don't even quite know what she had done yet. So yeah, it was really hard to kind of be revealed, to see the revelation of the evil Samantha as it kind of slowly took over the good Samantha that we were hoping.
From mild-mannered artist to deific god cult figure, it was a long and treacherous journey.
I feel like we should tell. I'd like to see some of her art, wouldn't you?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Paging Cassie Pertiet.
We need some concept art here. Yeah, what kind of art would Samantha be into? What kind of art would she make?
Yeah.
What's her medium?
Well, and how did it evolve over, her time with the church?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, once you're sort of a tiny god, right? Like you don't have to worry about like canvas versus pottery anymore. It's like do I want to use like 7 human skins or 12, right? Like how many people do I use in my sculpture today? That's
But
those are the kinds of questions you get to.
But she's still because she's also like we're watching The Great on Hulu, and it's about Catherine the Great and Peter the Emperor of Russia, and when you're when you're an emperor, no one's going to tell you your art is bad. So her art could still be incredibly bad, but everyone says it's wonderful. So I think Cassie can come up with some really good stuff.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking, how would we know if we saw it or not? She snaps her fingers. And next thing you know, like, yes, that's the most amazing art we've ever seen in our life.
Indeed.
Yes.
Right.
Please buy it for $1 million.
You got it, no problem. Small bills or big ones, Eddie. How we do this?
So can we get into kind of some stuff here? Like, Michael, you joined us after our little what would you call it? I'd say our break. Just the break that we took for the pandemic. You joined us with episode 9. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, we lost our original writer, and you joined the pack. And I mean, you took these characters and you just fleshed them out, and you continued their story. And I don't think if anyone said anything about who wrote what, it would just it's a pure, long, beautiful story.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, and there was a lot of tons of great material to work with off the jump.
Mm-hmm.
In my day job, I write for video games, and it is a sort of a constant struggle with games writing to make sure that the content you're putting in front of the player is interesting and engaging, and most importantly, like quick, because there's sort of a very narrow channel when you're playing a video game for how much sort of story content you want to engage with. So my approach with writing is very much to let the characters do all the heavy lifting. We had such a great cast, great voice casting, and some really fun character tropes in Todd and Bob and Samantha and the Warden. So from my perspective, the job to get us from sort of where we took the break to the end was just carrying forward the great ideas from the first half of the season through to sort of their natural conclusion. The incredible power that the Reverend seemed to have other people. How did that tie into Samantha's ultimate fate? Why was Samantha in the rooms, like we talked about? Why was she in the rooms to begin with? And then I think one of the really fun things that we got to do, especially sort of in the last episode, is play with the idea of what are the gray rooms themselves. And I hope no one's going to hold their breath on us answering that question definitively, but like even the question of like, why do people end up in the gray rooms, right? Like it's an interesting question, and I feel like we had some cool opportunities to at least start to walk down the path of answering those questions. I don't know, but you guys, I feel like the answers we have are pretty good ones, and it's going to be really fun to see how people react to that stuff as we continue to unravel it in season 3 and beyond.
Well said. That was awesome.
Yeah. How did you how did you kind of continue each character? Do you feel like I don't know, did you draw up like a character analysis? I don't know how these things fully flesh out, because normally there's one way where you create the characters yourself and then you write them, versus kind of taking over something else and then continuing on with it. How is that process? How does that work?
So like I said, with games, that's a pretty common thing, right? Is like you enter into the development cycle at a point where people have already created characters, or there's like something already out there in the public eye. And really what it's about is sort of identifying the core sort of elements of each character. What do they care about? What are their motivations? And you sort of like with Todd in particular, right? Like he talks in a very particular way. That great voice that Alistair created for him.
I love that voice.
And so it's a combination of like making sure that what they do sort of supports their goals and their thought process, and then also choosing dialogue in such a way to support the a goal when you're working in the audio medium. Although this is you guys had a lot of trust in me. This is the first time I've done purely podcast writing before. But the goal in any audio medium is to kind of be able to like imagine you have your script in front of you, like you put your hand over the name above a line of dialogue, and the ideal version is who's talking just by how they talk, right? So
right.
With Todd, that's a pretty easy ask, right? Like Todd talks very differently than any other character on the show. But it's trying to aim for that with every character. Bob, obviously, thanks to our lovely Mr. Growat, he talks in a very lovely way, and so it's about making sure that the sort of artful sentence construction that Bob chooses to employ comes across in a really fun and interesting way.
Until the end, it's not very pretty.
Well, I mean, so you've had a bad day.
Oh man,
it's all right.
Yeah, I really appreciate how you said that. You can kind of cover the name up and still tell who's saying what based on what they're saying, how they're saying it. That's definitely the mark of a good writer, or even of a good character that's been written well. Each voice, Bob, Todd, Samantha, very distinct, but you maintain that character that made them, so it didn't feel like watching a sequel with a different actor playing the same character. You know what I mean? Like it just felt
absolutely
one piece all the way through. So you did phenomenal, absolutely.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, that was amazing. As those scripts started rolling in, I was like, yeah.
Michael, do you almost prefer? I imagine there are pros and cons to both, but having a blank canvas as opposed to, I think as a performer too, I would rather have someone say, "Here are the limitations on what I want you to do. Can you do things within these parameters?" versus someone saying, "You do whatever you want."
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that would almost be frustrating.
Oh yeah, no. Blue sky, right? Or blue ocean, or however you want to call it. Like, especially in a collaborative creative enterprise, is almost never possible, right? Because if nothing else, there are other people involved in what you're doing, and you want to do a service to the people you're working with, what their goals are, what they're trying to do. And like I said a couple times, my background is in games, and that is the opposite of a blue sky, like blue ocean sort of situation. There's endless technological and product facing requirements for any kind of narrative in games. So no, it's just different challenges, right? Like the work we've already done on season 3 is just a different type of work. We still have a bunch of I'm going to use the word constraints, but like it's not, that's not a bad exactly parameters. Exactly. That's not those aren't bad. I think this is a thing that I've had the incredible pleasure and honor of being able to do notes and collaboration with people that are starting out writing. And I think sometimes there's this idea that ultimate freedom is what you sort of scrape for as a writer. Like if I hustle, eventually I'll be able to do anything. Well, there's something to that, but like it's honestly just different challenges. There's
even a writer who sits down in his writing cottage with a view of the lake and the typewriter and the blank sheet of paper. Even on one hand, I sort of imagine like, oh well, this is the day I write anything I want. But even he is sitting down with parameters for what he wants to make. Yeah,
exactly.
Painted a pretty picture there, Graham. That was very nice.
Yeah,
indeed.
Someday when they option the film rights for
there you go. Did you run into any kind of issues, Michael, with figuring out how to get a character across the finish line or how to resolve any pending issues? Was there anything like that?
I wouldn't call it so much issues as it was like I was very keenly aware of you guys had already done so much good work, and I bluntly I didn't want to screw it up, and so it was a great just to sort of talk about the process a little bit. Like, it was a great process to be able to pitch ideas to the team and try to carry forward some of the narrative threads from season 1 and the first part of season 2, and try to draw these arcs from the material that people were already familiar with to, like you said, some kind of like a satisfying conclusion. And it was a really fun, very collaborative process, with everybody offering opinions and listening to my ideas and getting to iterate on the scripts to try and find the place we wanted them to go. That's another thing that I think is such an underappreciated part of collaborative writing, is the opportunity for getting notes and feedback and changing your writing to fit with the ideas of the group. There's this idea of the writer as sort of an auteur, that the picture you just painted, Graham, right? Like the guy by himself in a cabin with a cup of coffee and a typewriter. And certainly there's a place for that kind of writing in the world. But the writing that I have always done usually involves sitting in meeting rooms yelling at people for hours on end.
I got to go back to work tomorrow. Come on.
Yeah. So, but like in a like I said, in a collaborative, creative, like engaging way, where everybody's very everybody wants the thing to be successful. Everybody wants the outcome to be really positive. And so what you end up getting is all these different viewpoints, and being able to synthesize them into something that makes everyone happy. That's like when I can kind of look back on a script, look back on a narrative experience that I've helped to shape, but I did it in the context of the goals of the other people I'm working with, in the goals of the broader project. Like, that's when I feel really a lot of satisfaction. That's when I'm like, yep, I did my job that day.
Amazing. That's
amazing.
Awesome. And so
yeah, all the best.
Satisfying. It's so satisfying when you can please everybody, and it's almost at the same time an impossible job.
Right?
Yeah, and sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just agreeing. Yep, he's correct.
Well, and to that point, right? Like, it's not always possible to please everybody, but even there, right? It's about what can we do that hits as many of our goals at a really high bar as we possibly can.
If you're working with good people and smart people, they're also going to
Exactly.
realize that not everybody's going to get everything they want, but if you're lucky, everyone can get a little something and come away feeling like their goals have been at least partially met. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah.
God damn.
That's a great way to say it. I like that.
That's the beauty of our team too, is that we all kind of do that. We kind of intuit what each person is doing and support and back up, and and we're so confident with each other that we can say safely, hey, what do you think if you did this instead, or on top of this, or in this way? And then we know that we're going to listen to each other. So it just creates this beautiful podcast. That's how you do it, folks. That's
the real gift too, right? Is being able to not even voice it as a disagreement. It never even comes to that. It's more like, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that?
Right.
And people who are really gifted at it, anyway, I'm just saying, yeah, I think we have a really great way of working that is really exciting.
Trust and respect, right?
Yeah.
It's very much doing work can feel, saying the word work, right? Like, it implies this sort of it implies a zero-sum environment, right? Where people pay other people to do stuff they don't want to do. And I have been I feel extremely privileged to to be able to say this, but like a lot of the jobs that I've had over the last 11 years have been about trying to turn work into the output of that work being something that everyone's really proud of, that everyone's like happy to be able to have their name attached to. And that's one of the reasons I really like working with you folks, is it's a very similar environment where we're willing to be real with each other and tell each other what we think. And the outcome, I think you can like, man, that that last episode is a hell of a thing, Jason. So yeah, it's good
that
stuff.
was fun though, man. I still get goosebumps. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and speaking of Jason, your production, I mean, this must have been really challenging for you because this is the season finale. Like, you want to put the absolute best shine, on this last episode. So you must have also had a field day, though. I mean, there's so much going on between the transitions of Samantha exploring the rooms that are in transition, between her final meetup with Bob. Like,
Oh man.
how did you determine how to get that sound structure? Excuse me, I just knocked my mic down. How did you determine the sound effects in that scene at the end between Bob and Samantha?
Well, I mean, without giving away too much,
Well, this is the spoiler episode, right?
That's right, we can say everything.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about for the entire. I still want people to be wondering. Well, was it
I got
what we
you.
thought it was?
Give away
You know?
all your tricks, right?
That's right. But I have a certain. I've done well, to be honest. Gosh, I reached back to like the movie Spawn. And it just popped into my head there, and then a few other things. I just had these ideas of how I wanted it to sound or how it should sound, and then that's how I just went for it. I kind of thought, what would scare me, and this would scare me, and so, and then Graham's delivery made it that much more easier to find the right atmosphere and vibe, because he really, like, when Bob started getting ticked off, it's like, okay, we're turning this up to 12 and we're gonna cause some nightmares.
Mm-hmm.
I love the sound of Bob shedding his skin.
Good, I'm glad.
Yeah, it's such a great. It creates such images in my head that are all. I mean, that's another great thing about what we do, is that if we do our job right, there are movies playing in people's minds, but every movie is a little different. But they're all terrible.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that. 'Cause I have to give a lot of credit to JM too, because JM and myself talked almost weekly on and what we did is we broke the finale up into chunks. We did, like, the first 5 pages here and 6 pages there, and we broke it up into chunks, and that's how we were working. And we communicated on what his vibe was as far as the music would go, and I told him how I was feeling with the atmosphere, and we just really bounced ideas off of each other, and I really think that it made the process smooth, because honestly, I have to tell you, this was probably one of the easier episodes, believe it or not, to work on, because of
really,
yeah, it really was, because of the back and forth I had. Like, there was a lot of interaction with JM, and we really kind of hashed it out. And I would give it to him, he'd bounce it back, add this, remove this, and and it was a really good time. But then also, at the same breath, this was also an episode where I was telling everybody, man, gosh, this is my least favorite episode, because I felt like it wasn't enough. But then to hear to hear everybody talk about how they're picturing it in their head, and it's exactly how I was hoping it would be, I'm like, okay, well then, it was a successful transition from paper to audio. So yes. And then that's a big credit to Mr. Zenke too. What an awesome episode. Awesome.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, they're all just words on the page till people say them out loud and put the sound effects in, man. It's this is what I was saying before, collaboration. It's what makes it so freaking sweet to do this kind of thing.
Well, and also that you don't. There's this fine balance between, obviously some things need to be said out loud so the audience knows what's happening, and then there are times where we know that Bob is shedding his human facade, and but we don't have to go so far as to say, what are those things coming out of your back. Like, there are wonderful moments where we can just let the sounds create the pictures, and other times when we want to be more specific, when we want people to know that someone has a knife in their hand or something. And,
Well,
Yeah,
and
and
the return of old Bob's voice.
yeah, oh man, come on now. I mean, when that happened, and I'll be honest, I did add a little bit more pitch to it just because I felt the sheer size of Bob at this moment. And when I was picturing it after Bob had shed the skin and was standing there towering over Samantha, she's almost craning herself backwards to kind of like just take in the just magnificent horror that is standing in front of her, that is Bob. And so, yeah, it's just, I don't know. And again, Graham, when you delivered those lines and actually put the old effects on there, oh my God, I had Chrissy listen, and she had covered from head to toe in goosebumps. It was just like, oh my gosh, this is insane. It's like, Bob is ticked off, everybody. Don't want that to happen.
Awesome. It's really hard to make Bob, obviously it's hard to get him angry, but it's also hard vocally to raise my voice as Bob. It's the vocal style I've chosen for him it's hard to go it's hard to do that. It's hard to raise your voice as Bob and stay in the pocket. And I think we pulled it off, and you helped. And obviously bringing back his effect also helped too. But
oh yeah,
I remember in the season 1 finale, he had to do some shouting, and I never quite certain that it still sounds like Bob when he starts to raise his voice. But yeah,
well, he sounded like him here. It almost sounded like he was gritting his teeth at a point. Like I could, like when he said, "You humans," I could see the big pulsing vein in his forehead, and he's just like, his eyes are getting red and he's sweating. He's so pissed off. I was like, yes, here we go. It's time for everything to
layer in that. You start to layer in that cracking noise, and you just know what that is.
And Sarah, man, oh my God, she killed it.
Oh yeah,
gee, good Lord.
Yeah, the fact that
Oh yeah, the "I am a god" line. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, just it constantly marvels me that marvel to me that she and I are both in this scene, and we're both experiencing. She's obviously experiencing. Her mind is snapping, and we're creating the scene, but. When we recorded the lines, we were alone looking at the script and imagining what the other person would do. And you pray that it all comes together. And some of that is Jason's magic. And a lot of that is also, what Sarah does and I do. And it still blows my mind that it can be stitched together and sound like it was done with 2 people live in a scene.
Right. I agree. That's a testament on the talent too. But Sarah, she's just much like yourself. Sarah's been one to just deliver 100% every time, and she's just really awesome. Whenever I get stuff from her, I'm like, God, man, this is going to be amazing.
We've thrown her into so many terrible situations.
Poor girl, I know, my bad. Sorry, Sarah, my bad.
I can't believe that there have been some episodes. I think there was one like. Probably mid-season where we just put her through the grinder, and I was like, slow golf clap. And then she continues to bring that every time. Hopefully she enjoys it too, because I know that one of the reasons I enjoy doing this is because I want to be able to use my instrument in that way and to get to do the highs and lows. So hopefully it's satisfying to her in some strange way.
Yeah, she's actually, it's kind of funny with Sarah. She's become kind of in a strange way, one of the, not marquee, but kind of like one of the staple Grey Room's names, because of not just Samantha Winters, but she was really big for the teddy bear in season 1, and people still talk about her performance as that teddy bear. Yeah, I hope she enjoyed it too, because she's a natural and she's awesome.
That was why when Sam was going to be walking through some of the old rooms, I was like, well, I mean, there's one that she has to go through, right?
Have to. Yeah.
I was so waiting. I know. I was first off, Michael. The fact that you were able to, you went back, you took the time, you went back through episodes, not just from season 2, but season 1, and
no kidding.
wove them into the finale was amazing. And I remember when I first read the script, I was like, "Oh, I can't believe it! I can't believe you did that!" And what an amazing, for people who have listened to season 1, and to the fans, what an amazing treat to revisit not only those stories, but and then of course Raymond. Oh, I'm sure, Brooks. I'm jumping in on, and you were probably going to bring that up, but
No, go ahead.
what an amazing thing too to bring back the sort of internal monologue. That was such an amazing. It was like
genius.
Yeah, it's like somebody from a present day movie walking into a black and white movie and looking around, and this other convention is happening. What an amazing. Yeah, sorry, you talk, Michael, because what?
No worries, man. It's just one of the things I really admire about the check you guys have written for yourselves is before I came on. Now I'm a part of this happy brigade, but when I listened through the Grey Rooms for the first time, it was just really striking to me how you guys were not afraid to do like the third person omniscient narration in the middle of a scene with active dialogue. Like that's the kind of thing that people get hung up on sometimes in trying to be creative, and it's such a fun thing to do. You did that a little bit in season 2 also with the sort of noir aspects of Jake, and I just knew when we went back into Raymond's room that not having him sort of narrate the situation from his perspective would have been a missed opportunity. So I'm glad it went over well. I really the thing, like I was saying when we started talking, that I've really enjoyed about the process of getting to work with you folks is the material that you all have created both in season 1 and season 2 before I joined. It's just really strong, and so the process of taking the baton and carrying it forward has been a really fun exercise. It's been a super fun challenge, and now looking ahead, to future exploits, how can we take the things that we did in season 1 and now in season 2 and kind of arc that ball a little bit, see where that goes.
Oh, you did an amazing job too, man. I'm telling you. Yeah, it was kind of awesome. I think Brooks touched on this, that from the transition from the first author to yourself, it was seamless. It was absolutely seamless. It was beautiful. It was the same. It was the same river flowing the same way. It just felt right. And I loved everything about it. And you did such an amazing job. I mean, everything that you wrote was 10 stars, 18 thumbs up. It was platinum, gold, whatever, diamond. It was so good. I enjoyed everything you did. So yeah,
well, thanks,
don't sell
man.
yourself short on that, man. You're a genius. So. And the Raymond scene, if I may say, was the hardest part of that, because I think I told Brooks, man, I gotta get myself back into character, man. I gotta rediscover Raymond here, man. This is hard, I can't be a Graham Rowat or a Sarah Thomas. I can't do that. I'm not a voice actor, but man, trying to get back into that role, it took me a couple of days of really hating myself for a little bit at work, which at work it was pretty easy, but
We did great too, man. That's it's a fun character.
Can I ask you a question, Michael? So,
of course.
I love to always ask the. Oh, fine, bye.
I'm just kidding.
I love to ask the authors these little, in the hot seat questions. So about, oh my gosh, I've just lost my train of thought here. Wait, hold on.
Dear.
Jason told me to leave, and I just completely thought. Give me a second here.
We'll stall.
Yeah, you stall for me.
I made sure.
Sorry. So here it was. Raymond and Sam. Sorry. So in terms of the Grey Room's canon, is it safe to say now that did Sam enter into Raymond's actual room, while he was serving his time or doing his thing in his room, or was that just kind of part of the Grey Room's messing with Samantha?
Great question.
Yeah.
I would propose that the Grey Rooms is not an experience that lets anything go, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
Raymond, we saw Raymond's end, quote unquote,
Mhm.
end at the end of the first season, right?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
well, let me say it this way. The Grey Rooms in my mind themselves are a character, right?
Mhm.
Bob and the Warden and Todd are inside the rooms, but the rooms themselves are also a character. And so a question you can ask yourself then is, what do the rooms want? And I think we got a little bit of a taste at the end of season 2 here of the rooms themselves have sort of a set of rules or expectations that they themselves abide by. And Raymond being there, even though canonically we know he's like kind of done, I think
Right.
that speaks to some of that motivation for the rooms. I don't want to like
Okay.
too much more about it,
like
if
it.
that makes sense. But like that's
Yeah.
that's my take. Just to like, yeah.
Don't
Oh,
give away
I
too
hear the
many of
wall.
my secrets.
Oh no.
Oh shit. Oh
Comes
shit.
the warden.
So this is a really great time to transition to a writer thing, actually, real quick. There's this tradition in writing called on the unreliable narrator, and a lot of people think of it like the easy way to think of this is like people in a narrative setting lying to you, but that's not at all how I see it. It's in our daily lives, right? If you just think about how you act with your coworkers versus how you act with your family, like, are you lying to your coworkers? Are you lying to your family? No, right? Like we all put on and take off personas in different
different facet.
exactly, right? And the same is true of as creators, as creatives, when we have a character say something to you in a podcast or a play or a movie, the things that they say come from a specific place, to borrow from, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, they come from a very specific point of view, right?
I know that story.
Indeed.
What is
Star Trek, right?
Yeah, Star Trek.
No,
exactly.
Battlestar Galactica.
Still laying
Yeah, yeah.
traffic.
got it.
Whatever, Star Trek.
But like, that's the question, right?
Wrong
Like,
one, Brooks.
was Ben lying when he said that Darth Vader had killed Luke's dad? I don't think he was.
Well, he
I
just
think
wasn't
was
ready for the info.
Right, but it's a question of intent, right? Like I don't think Ben meant to lie to Luke. He was telling him something that was, in his own words, from a certain point of view, true. And that's very much
It was metaphorically true also.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel the same way about, like, when you ask the question, like, what's the deal with Raymond in the rooms? It's about, if the rooms themselves are a character, right? Then they have their own point of view, and then they have their own motivations.
Right.
And just because we present something from the room's point of view doesn't necessarily mean it's like objectively true, if that makes sense.
Okay.
That's cool.
That's a satisfactory answer. I like it.
When you were doing by the way, Brooks, don't really go land traffic. That was a joke.
Damn.
No, I would never do that. Don't worry.
Okay, good deal.
No, yeah.
But and then the part when you Mr. Zenke, when you were talking about the doors, like the actual frame of the door with no doors in it, just blackness. The thing that kept coming across my mind was the old black and white Twilight Zone with the doors coming at you. So, really good job.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. I thought that was cool.
It's good stuff.
Hell yeah. Well, before we wrap up, and I still have a few more things I wanted to ask, we have a special treat. Unfortunately, Graham had a conversation with Alistair and Sarah, and I didn't make it to that, and I'm a little butthurt about that. But I found this little device in the basement. I'm assuming the warden left it.
Wait, you went to the basement?
Yeah, and I know that the basement's not here, so... Anyway, sorry. But I retrieved it from the basement before it was gone. This should let me peer into that conversation that Graham and Sarah and Alistair had. They actually discussed the season finale together, so transition away, please.
Thank you, Brooks. Welcome back, everybody, or hope you're enjoying our last Behind the Door. You won't believe it, but we managed to bring together again the wonderful voice talent that is Alistair Mackey and Sarah Ruth Thomas, who voice Todd and Samantha Winters. Myself, you may know, I voice the role of Bob. And we are here to discuss the finale, which that's the topic of this episode. Wait, Brooks? Is that you, Brooks?
I just made it, guys. I just left the other conversation, ran down the street, and here I am. I'm here to talk to you guys.
That's amazing.
Let's do this.
How did you get from there to here?
I'm wearing sneakers, man. I can run fast.
That's amazing. Well, look, everybody, we've come to the end of season 2.
Mm-hmm.
The finale was insane.
Oh, yes.
I'm so tired.
Yeah. I gotta say, I thought here are some of the moments that I wanted to talk about and that stood out to me. One of them that was so touching was I thought Todd, when Samantha wakes up and they're talking on the elevator and he says he lets her off, there is this tender sort of I'll be here when you're ready to go back up, and it was one of the most tender things I'd ever heard. So kudos to the two of you for creating such a beautiful, of course there's no, that's the other great thing about good writing is that once you reach such a beautiful moment, then the next thing that's got to happen is it's got to get burned down.
Yes.
Which
tear
is,
it apart.
Yeah. When
100%.
Samantha pulls back realizes she's still got her powers.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You have this wonderful, tender moment, and we just have to snuff it out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the two teens, finally kissed, and then the psycho killer leaps up.
But is also one of the teens.
Isn't it crazy also that Jason Wilson appears 3 times in this finale?
Oh my word!
Is it 3?
Yeah, because he's the warden.
Yeah,
he's also the girl who owns the teddy bear's father.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
And then, of course, he's Raymond.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The chameleon that is Jason Wilson.
We get to do a little bit of room hopping, and we get to see him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's talk about the room hopping. Did everybody? I know that maybe Sarah and Alistair didn't necessarily. I mean, I know Sarah, you would have recognized Teddy's home.
Right, but we had Ice Station Bravo. We had all sorts of stuff in here.
Mm-hmm.
What did you guys think of what did you I guess let me just hear what'd you think of the finale, guys?
Oh man. Alistair, would you like to take this first?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I was snuffed out quite early on. Spoilers alert, obviously. So it was quite nice to just sit back and watch the whole thing unfold. It was. I loved it. I loved the backtracking through previous rooms, both through Raymond's and your own. Was backtracking and yet also moving forward, sort of through your own history, was really, really interesting. And it called back to mind season 1's finale, where we had all the elements of the different rooms that were interacting with Raymond and sort of collapsing into one, whereas you were sort of chasing your way through your previous history. Raymond was being attacked by his, and it goes back to what I mentioned in the previous Behind the Door that we did before. about the difference in how your characters were affected by the rooms and how that all comes to collapse in on you, and I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, Karen.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. So sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I thought it was really interesting that Samantha was getting to choose to go through some of these doors. Whereas, like you mentioned with Raymond, he's suddenly being attacked by these rooms. So that was all.
Yeah, it was very much a forward journey for Samantha. It was very much a pursuit of escape, rather than just being a victim of sort of the collaboration of what was happening. So it was a really nice twist on the way that season 1 ended. A very different way for it to do, and I incorporated the physical rooms themselves as well, which I really liked. And yeah, the ending. Oh, I'm gonna talk about from a purely special effects standpoint. Like, I think Jason completely outdid himself with this episode.
Oh, for sure.
There's so much going on.
Absolutely. It was the biggest thing, well, the smallest thing for me that made it such an impact were the pebbles. When Bob, in his true form, was stomping around, and you could just hear little pebbles, little Foley work under his feet, and I was like, "That is beautiful sound design." It really conveys the enormity of real Bob, as he shall forever be known. Tyrannosaurus Bob, or whatever.
I always love the fact that Bob's name is not... The only reason he's called Bob is because you guys, the humans, couldn't pronounce his name.
Right.
Yeah, so technically,
fair.
Real Bob's in his true form, like, we still really wouldn't call him Robert. He's just Bob.
No. I'd love to hear him say his name someday and just...
Well, wasn't something behind that, like, if you were... Did Bob say if you were to hear it, something would happen, or am I getting that mixed up with some other...
Wasn't it if you could hear it, you'd be dead by the time he finished it?
Yeah, something like... I thought there was
Wasn't it like super long?
Something. I don't remember. Come on, Bob.
I don't remember that. I don't remember. I just know.
There was some stipulation, I thought.
Yeah, he doesn't like it. He doesn't like Bob.
We get the pronunciation wrong. Humans mess it up all the time. So.
And also,
3.
When Bob starts to shed his human suit, the sounds that go with that are really, really good. The cracking.
Yeah.
The clang.
Jason's always been exemplary with the schlop noises.
Oh gosh, yeah. It's this whole episode, and I mean this in the best way possible, is nightmare fuel. It is gut-wrenching in the emotional sense, in the wellness sense. It is just, it puts you through the ringer.
What did you guys think about Raymond's cameo?
Yes. Well, I love the fact that they kept... It was wonderful, but I love the fact that we held on to his inner monologue.
Yes.
Because it highlighted the fact that Samantha hasn't had that this season.
In the beginning, there was a little bit of it, I thought, right? First episode, maybe. There was a tiny bit of inner monologue. Maybe just to set
was
up.
Was it inner, or was it just sort of, I'm talking to myself as I look around?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe you're talking
Samantha
aloud.
Talks to herself. Yeah, she talks to herself a lot, and that's what the listener relies upon, is her talking to herself.
I got it.
But she's not that omniscient narrator. She's not observing everything on behalf of the listener.
It's funny because I thought when they brought that convention back in the finale that there was going to be a moment where Samantha's like, "Are you talking to yourself?"
Yes.
And I'm glad they didn't go there, because that would have really shattered the wall there.
Yeah, that would have kind of just killed the mood a bit. But yeah, it was kind of like the return of this. I know in our last behind the door, someone mentioned that, Bob's season 1 voice like brought back nostalgia. And so hearing Raymond's story, the way he delivers the story, it was kind of like the return of this musical motif. And I was like, yeah, that's how we used to do it.
Yeah.
Well, when I hear, for me, it was the flicker of the fluorescent bulb in his cell.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It now, like, it was such a constant in season 1, and it'll be forever linked for me. So when I first heard when it first came back in the finale, it kind of gave me chills. It was really effective. I mean, and the sound of bare feet on cement is so connected with season one of
very
the
distinguishable.
Grey Rooms that if Jason ever happens to use that effect anywhere else, it's
comes
really
Raymond.
dangerous, because it's like, wait a minute.
It belongs in this certain setting. It is part of this one setting, and outside of it, just no, absolutely not.
It's branded. How about J.M. Scherf?
Oh my word!
The symphonic music, amazing.
Oh, I love what he has done for season 1 and for season 2, and it just kept getting bigger and more, and just.
Yeah, I love moments where on the page there might not be anything written down, but there's an emotional moment that he sees. It's it's maybe when Samantha is free and she's looking over the balcony and saying, where is this? But right before she says, what is this place? You hear the shift in the music as she sees it. And that is what I think is the real art, is catching those moments that are maybe they're spoken afterwards, or maybe they're commented on, but as they happen, that's what really, I think, paints the makes the movie play in my head.
Yeah, because for this season, since Samantha isn't doing the overarching, the overall narration like what Raymond was doing,
right?
That's given the music more of an area to play and to fill in the gaps where, if Samantha isn't telling the listener everything that she's experiencing, at least the music is cluing us in, and he's done such a fantastic job of that this season, of using the music as another story element to help the audience further understand what's going on.
Right. And I don't know if it's something that might be exclusive to people who've worked on the podcast or are super fans of the podcast, but I hope it's accessible to everyone. I knew what story you were in before anyone said anything because of the music.
Right.
When you entered Ice Station Zebra, or Bravo, sorry. I was like, right, I know where you are. And as soon as you entered the teddy bears room, I was like, right, I know where we are. I know what story you're in. And that was
skill.
Yeah, it was immaculate.
Yeah. Throughout the season. Sorry, Graham.
Well, no, I don't want to. You had a thought on the music still, so keep going there.
I was going to say, throughout the season, the first season, bringing JM in, because there was like maybe 2 or 3 stories he didn't do, because at that point Jason was still using stock music, but ultimately JM then did take over, by middle, ending up the season. You can see the progression too, just in his own style of learning to score a podcast. Like, he's so prepared to make the music for this finale now, and so he was so prepared to navigate how to fit the music to fit the scenes, like you were saying. I think because of just the varied ways that he learned to make all kinds of different music and scoring scenes and everything throughout our season, he really went for a unique sound every single episode that really fit with that episode.
Yeah, amazing. And then to churn out but to create a condensed special track for the patrons with the Dismal Dirge.
That's right, every other week.
Just amazing, just above and beyond. Also, Michael Zenke, who took over, writing duties, and I know this is being discussed in the rest of this particular Behind the Door, but the fact that he went back through the first season and pulled elements from season 1 to weave them into this finale, and then also to have his own ideas, his own take, his own world building. Just amazing.
Yeah, he really fleshed out the characters even more to get us to this point, to have this spectacular, epic ending, basically.
Yeah, and my overwhelming feeling at the end, which I felt sad. There was a sadness for Samantha at the end that I felt, but it also felt inevitable. Like, it felt like I feel sad for her, but this this was always how it was going to be. But the fact that I found myself in that kind of melancholy, and also, this is the Grey Rooms. I knew this was coming. I thought that was amazing. And it speaks to how well we did our jobs, I think, and everybody involved.
Yeah, with the script writing and the sound design and the music and all of the actors, there's just, you're right. You do find yourself, you've been so emotionally fraught going, well, maybe, just maybe, maybe maybe this prisoner is not as bad as, Bob's making them out to be. And in the end, it's just, you have to settle into that understanding of, I walked into this knowing what it was, and now the ending's coming, and I know exactly what it's going to be, and it's still going to hurt.
Yeah.
So,
and it's a testament to Michael writing a story that made us think that she had a chance.
Right, exactly. Like with the writing and just all of it. So it's absolutely, he did a fantastic job.
At what point in the episode did you realize she didn't have a chance?
I think it's when Bob, you know what? Bob, that's interesting, because she finds herself somewhere different. She finds that she has escaped to a point. She doesn't know what this new place is. And then Bob finds her. And even when Bob finds her, he's sort of saying it's over.
Yeah.
And we're not quite sure initially if listeners of the Grey Rooms know there probably are no happy endings, but there's at least a moment where you're thinking maybe she's no use to them anymore because of this, that, and the other, so they're going to let her go. And it wasn't. I think it was probably. Yeah, it was during her conversation with Bob that I realized that this is over, and she can't.
Well, because there's this, during that moment when she's outside and she's looking, you suddenly have this realization during that conversation of, between where she is now versus where she was, where she was preferable.
Yes.
Yes. Which is just devastating. I think for me, that's definitely the moment that cemented it for me. But the moment she turns on Todd was the moment that in my brain I went, well, she's done.
Yep, same. I completely agree.
The moment she turned, because there's a lead up to it. There's a build up where she's talking to herself. She's going, don't do it. You don't need to do it. Don't do it. But she becomes so desperate and just so ready to be out of there, which you can't fault her for. But what you can fault her for is the method in which she goes about trying to escape. And so the moment that she turned on, because this entire time, we talked about this last time, she's been trying to make an ally out of Bob, a bit unsuccessfully, but her ally to a degree is Todd. He's
right.
a confidant, a friend for her. And he goes from being a friend to being a tool for her. So that for me was her damnation.
Yeah.
No, I absolutely agree. I'd say that was in this entire season. That segment was the hardest Todd lines I had to record. Was because Todd's normally quite an expressive character. He's quite buoyant. He's normally quite joyous. He does have his serious moments, but he's very expressive.
Yes.
And I then had to try and convey how he was feeling whilst also being essentially monotone for that character was very bizarre.
Yeah, that was a great shift and a wonderful thing to listen to.
Because he was, I wanted him to be devastated.
Yeah.
That he thought he was getting through to you, and you turned on him.
Yeah.
I'm getting emotional here. I'm sorry.
But it's a testament to the how good the writing was. That
the writing was so good.
I connected to both of these characters at this point. I was like, no, and when I was reading the script, I was like, no, don't do it. No, not Todd. Yeah. No, leave me. No, okay, fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was lovely to hear it come together. Certainly in the finish, and I love the sound effects that when you go into your Unity voice.
Yes.
I love what Jason does with the SFX on that, and it really like as soon as that started to creep in, you're like, oh no, I know what she's doing. She's falling back into her old ways. But no, don't do it.
Yeah, there's this unease, there's this disturbance, and then she just commits to it, and it's she fell off the wagon.
Guys, I am so grateful that we got to work together this season. I know that we will be together next season in some form. So I'm not going to say goodbye, but I'm going to say on behalf of Jason and Brooks is. I'm Jason's not here. Brooks is here, but thank you so much. It was so amazing to create this world with you guys, and also the person that we haven't mentioned is Cassie. Help me, Brooks. Shiver.
I always go by her other last name, Cassie Pertiet. I don't know.
I'm sorry. And the only reason I use the other name is because on social media, I sometimes get mixed up with, Cassie Pertiet. I don't know why I blanked on, use the old one, but her contributions have also, she's the other, she and Hale Scherf are, who's been taking over video duties. We're going to cover all this in the rest of the Behind the Door, but all props to them. This is about Sarah and Alastair. You guys are so great, and thank you.
Yes,
for this season.
Yes,
thank you. It's been such a blast to play Samantha, and I've loved every minute of it.
Yeah,
and
even the awful minutes.
and there have been plenty of those.
Oh boy!
And it's been an absolute pleasure to keep Todd going. He to birth him out of what was initially a 1-episode Patreon character, and to have him become part of a full season has been an absolute honor. So thank you so much for letting me.
He's getting his own spin-off show.
Yeah.
Brooks, I'm going to give you a head start to run back to the
thank
other.
You. Yes, I need to get back to the other conversation. So thank you, Sarah,
head over
and thank you guys all. Bye.
See you, Brooks. And I am going to thank our listeners for taking this journey with us on season 2. And I think Brooks has probably made it back to the other studio. So we're going to throw it back to Brooks Bigley, Michael Zenke, Jason Wilson, and I'm there too. Anyway, we'll be with them now. Thanks so much.
Hey.
And thank you, Graham. Whew, I got back just in time to get the conversation going here again. Before we wrap up tonight, I know that we wanted to have a quick discussion kind of about the future of the podcast.
Yeah. Without giving too much away, one of the things that we were just talking about actually before we even got on the mics tonight was what can we walk away from season 2 with in terms of some things learned that worked well. And Graham, Jason, if you guys have other stuff you want to talk about, we should definitely get into that. But for my part, the thing I really enjoyed the most, if you look at season 1 and season 2, we've been talking about the Grey Rooms as a character, and you can clearly see how the rooms themselves evolved, right? Not just with the addition of Todd and Jake in the rooms themselves alongside Bob, but also the very nature of the rooms changed. It was sort of a cell block, a prison in season 1, and in season 2 it was this old-timey hotel. And without being specific about it, I think the success of the rooms themselves shifting and changing with each go at whatever this thing is, I think is a super powerful metaphor. And it lets us do, frankly, some really fun storytelling stuff. So I would expect to see more changes in the rooms themselves going forward.
Nice.
You got your work cut out for you, Jason.
I know. I'm looking forward to it though, because like Michael said too, it is neat if you watch the progression of the change of the Grey Rooms, how in season 1 it was a prison, and it was all pretty much like Raymond talking to himself all the time, and then Bob was there to kind of fill in the space and make Raymond remind Raymond in a very subtle way, actually, about how big of a piece of garbage he was. And then season 2, it's just this larger, broader cast of characters, one of which is Jake Stone. I'm actually, part of me is a little sad he's dead. I really liked Jake Stone, but
well, I mean, hold on there, Jason, because like we just said,
Michael,
one of the great parts of the rooms is,
yes,
they don't leave anything lying on the floor. So
they don't let you go. They don't let you go, man.
I know, man.
Reduce, reuse, and recycle.
Yeah, but I agree too. I think that the universe is just going to get bigger, and there's going to be more layers to it, and eventually, I think it's just fun, and I'm really looking forward to the progress that we're going to have in season 3 and beyond. I don't know. It's a lot of fun, and it's challenging for myself too as a sound designer to always try to make it fresh and to tap on these the capture what is trying to be portrayed from the paper. And it's just been a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to season 3. I'm really looking forward to season 3, actually.
I'm worried about Bob. I'm not really worried because I enjoy anything that Bob has to go through is going to be fun for me as an actor. But I'm fascinated with Bob's. It feels like Bob is constantly trying, and I think I just probably said this when we were talking with Alistair and Sarah a moment ago. But Bob's exposure to humanity is something that is constantly sort of affecting him or trying to adjust his sensibilities, and he's been doing this job for a long time in my imagination, and so over how many hundreds of thousands of years, no matter how strong he is on what his job is and what he needs to do, the way a river will work the bank of a stream, he will eventually be worn down grain by grain. So I feel like that actually it makes him an exciting character, and I think to not only play but to write for. I think he's it's fascinating. I don't know. I'm worried for Bob because I think he can go a lot of ways, but I think that's also exciting, and he just wants to do his job, man.
Yeah, well,
Absolutely.
Bob is definitely a popular one. Bob has his own fan club now, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Got any Bob Squad? Any Bob Squad out there?
Bob Squad?
Bob Squad.
Bob Squad?
I think the thing you're pointing at, Graham, which is great, is not to talk out of school, but I think if you read between the lines, you maybe think about that last episode of season 2, you can kind of get the sense of maybe the kind of neighborhood that Bob runs around in, the sort of who his friends are, maybe. And Bob represents, in a very concrete way, the type of person, be they short-lived or long-lived, who resists change, strongly resists change, right? And so the thing you're pointing at, which is great, and I completely agree with you, is it feels like over the course of season 1 and season 2, we start to see this sort of implacable facade start to shift a little bit. To your point about he doesn't really raise his voice very much. I don't imagine that's going to change, right? But now in the span of 2 seasons, we've seen him get angry twice, right? And that might be the first 2 times he's been that angry in a very long time. So it'll be interesting to see where that takes him in the future down the
he's obviously he's going to continue to. It's not going to be interesting to write the episodes where he just eats a sandwich, so he's going to probably continue to
Might be a great episode.
Yeah.
I don't know off the top of my head if he ever gets that cake, but I think, maybe.
Oh, that's right, man. That's a little bit of torture for poor Bob at the end there.
He never gets the cake.
It's like, man,
there is no cake.
Cake.
I very rarely do this. I very rarely pat myself on the back very much. But did you guys catch that was actually a handoff from season 1?
Yes, I did. I knew.
Well, wait, you mean the cake he made for Raymond?
I guess I was the only one.
The discussion of the cake, there was this heavy implication in the season 1 episode where it kind of seemed like you wanted some cake, and so it was like, all right,
Raymond's birthday. Remember, it was Raymond's birthday. Oh my God, no, I did not catch that, man. Good job, wow.
Yep. So when it came time for him to be like, let's get Samantha something nice, right? Of course he went back to the cake because it didn't really work the first time, right? So he's like, no, this time it's gonna work. She's gonna love this cake. And
he said it too. It's a cake.
Yeah.
She's like, what? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh, good job, man. I know I did not draw the lines. I read that story probably 100 times, and never once. Wow, that's really good. Easter egg to everybody.
Exactly. And who knows? Maybe more of that.
That's fun. I like that kind of stuff. Not now. Boy, I'm on my friggin' toes with you now, man. I'm gonna have to really pay attention to these stories. I have to really dissect them when I'm reading them now. Good Lord.
Yeah, you just don't forget how to do Raymond. That's all we're saying.
Yes. Oh no. Well, gentlemen, I want us to say our thanks. I know that Jason loves thanking JM for the amazing, beautiful music that he always gives.
Oh my God!
But maybe if we could all just go around and just thank who we want to thank. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
I want to thank. We're all going to thank the same people, but I think just to take some pressure off of, I think we're all thinking of JM, who, I mean, we've created such an amazing team that I think, we all keep pinching ourselves. JM, as our resident composer and musician, has created a soundscape and a musical variety and style, and just we're so lucky to have JM with our music, and Cassie with all of the art that is being made is so amazingly. I mean, just all the words right now are just not good enough. But and also, our brand new website that everyone should go to, that Cassie made, grayrooms.com. And then, of course, Hale Scherf has joined the team with our video content, and that is a whole, that is so amazing. And anyway, I'm just I just sound like an idiot now, but we're a really great team, and everybody here in this conversation,
and a very welcoming team. It was a pleasure to be able to join you guys midstream, and you made it very easy to hit the ground running. Cassie and JM included. Super fun challenge, and excited about next season.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, guys.
I want to thank the authors. We got to thank the authors. All of the authors that have been submitting stories and making everything what it is.
Yes. Let's
coming on and doing these behind the doors. All of the actors that have made their voices onto the Grey Rooms, and familiar ones and new ones. I mean, this is even bigger than just the direct team here that's putting it all together. There's so many people involved in this. So thank you, everybody.
Correct. Yeah. Actually, it's kind of funny. Cassie today has been sending me screenshots of emails from season 3 submission authors that have been told they're going to be there, and it's really cool. Still being the person that had the nightmare. It's really, I don't think I can ever put into words or even an emotion to express my personal gratitude to everyone, because this was a bad dream I had. And I figured one day I told, my wife said, I'm going to do this. We all know the story. I'm going to do this. Here it is, and the fact that it's here and it's awesome. It doesn't suck. It's amazing. I mean, we have some of the best voice talent I think I've ever heard in my life. And I listen to a lot of podcasts, so I'm just going to toot our own horn on that one. But, and the authors, these stories that we get are absolutely amazing. Brooks is right. I mean, we get really talented storytellers, and it's really cool to get to bring those to life and to see their reaction. And then, and then Michael, he came in and he just, I'm telling you, Michael Zenke really opened up some doors here, y'all. I'm thinking that there's going to be some really fun roller coaster ride in season 3. No pressure, Michael. And we're going to have a good time.
To your point, some of the stories coming up are just so creative and just really inspiring. The frame story that we've been talking about, the rooms themselves, and the stories of Todd and Bob and whoever, maybe there'll be someone after Samantha. Who knows?
Right.
But yeah, all of that stuff is fantastic and super fun. But the individual narratives of each episode just are what make the rooms such a fun, special, different horror podcast. And oh man, some of those season 3 stories.
Oh yeah, right. I know. And I'm not going to mention it really right now so much because I need to tell the patrons first. But we have a change coming up for season 3, and it's a big one. So it's not going to be a change of format or anything. It's just I think that the listeners will be very pleased at the change, and we'll really reveal that a little bit later down the line. But like Brooks, I cannot forget you. You always do such an amazing job. You've helped me a lot with a lot of the logistical stuff, and you're really good with social media, and you've really helped me out. I mean, there's a lot of things that I could not do that you have made me able to do or understand. And then, of course, Cassie. We all know Cassie. I talk to her all dang time. Her artwork is phenomenal. The website is amazing. She's also really good at cracking the whip and getting me. Jason, finish the dang stories. Yes, ma'am. Sorry. I'll finish the stories today. My bad. And we all know I love JM. I love JM. I have a crush on JM. There it is right there. It is. I love JM. I every time I make a story, I listen to it and I'm like, okay, this is how it sounds. This is neat. Like listen to these sound effects and stuff. It's really cool. I like to get the voice actors in here and everything just sounds cool. And I hand it off to JM and it's like going to bed and waiting for Christmas. It's like, oh, okay, when am I going to get JM's music? And then I get JM's music and it's that big red present in the back of the tree that the lights are hitting just right. You're like, ooh, I'm going to open this and I'm going to give this a listen. And boy, it's always so exciting. And yeah. And then what? She's giving me a hard time back there. And then, but then also we had Hale. Graham talked about Hale. Holy cow. And what the heck? I didn't realize that we were getting such a talent with her, and just she really kills it.
Well, we also didn't know.
Our videos are phenomenal.
Right. It's been taking us a while to figure out what our video output should and could be. And I think we're finally getting our stride. And the fact that we have someone who is so kind and not just productive, talented and
artistic, visionary.
Yeah. We have such a great collaborative group who, as Michael, hearkening back to respect and what were the 2 words?
Trust.
Michael, they were good words. Respect and trust, man.
That is nice. I have to tell you that all of y'all that it's really cool knowing that like Graham and everybody, they're going to always deliver 100%. It's always going to be just absolutely Emmy worthy performances. And then I know that I can send that off, and they know that I'm going to do my stuff. And then, it's definitely trust and respect is for sure. And with that, Graham Rowat is somebody that we all need to give a lot of respect and props to as well, because it's because of Mr. Rowat that these wonderful voices you hear coming into these stories. He is a very keen eye for talent, and he brings these wonderfully gifted and talented and just super cool people into this world to work with us. And not to mention Bob. We would be nothing without Bob. Come on. So,
yes.
I again can't tell. I cannot stress enough. Every single one of you in the team and who has been part of this, and even the listeners, all of you, I appreciate all of you. You're all amazing.
Bob Squad.
Bob Squad.
Bob Squad.
Pew, pew, pew.
Hell yeah. Well, I don't think any words can be spoken now. I mean, you pretty much said everything, Jason. So thank you.
Yeah, but I want to give it. Brooks, you never get. I will constantly. Just one last shout out to you, my friend. You don't get.
Right.
I mean, you are the glue that holds everything together in an amazing way, and I think that you are the secret sauce in a lot of this. So, just wanted to say that.
Thanks, man.
The Mick Brooks. It's the Mick Brooks, everybody.
Wow. I love it. Just call me creamy sriracha sauce. Thanks, guys. And on that note, I'm gonna go paint some rainbows and hug some Care Bears because I'm all happy right now.
Do it.
So that's that. I mean, it's crazy. We made it. We finished our season. BTD is over. The behind the door, excuse me. That's what we call it internally, the BTD. I can't thank everybody enough. You know, our patrons. Thank you so much for supporting us.
Here's a question. What will be the next? What will be the next? What's the next thing that potentially will appear in the patron feed? Because I can't be certain, but I'm pretty sure there's other things in the pipeline. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Well, yes, we have something special coming from JM.
Sure.
For our higher tiers, and
in fact, that'll be by the time people hear this, that'll be out in the wild.
Mm-hmm.
But
right.
Yeah, sorry.
And Jason,
we earlier in the season, we put out a call to arms to our patrons, and we asked for anybody who would like to participate in an actual story, having your lines recorded and produced into a Bane episode. And it's almost done. So that will be one of the ones that's going out. And we have a few more Bane episodes. So we'll be releasing quite a few Bane episodes in the off season for our patrons, as well as, of course, the preseason episodes that we will have for the Grey Rooms. But yeah, that patron Bane story, which I'm planning on trying to do maybe one of those a season, maybe more if I can. But it's just patrons. The actors are our patrons. It's kind of neat.
Mm-hmm.
So even though our season is over, there will continue to be more things popping up in the patron feed and elsewhere,
That's
obviously.
right.
And I don't think the planned hiatus it's not like people are going to be waiting a year for the next season. We're already in production. So I think that's also good to know, because I never know when a podcast season ends, if they're gone for 6 months, a year, or a month, or so.
Yeah, right.
Just without putting it too fine a point on it, people should know that we don't plan for a long hiatus.
No, and I think we did it last season too. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure we did it last season to kind of make sure that even though we are having the quote unquote break in service to prepare and do everything for season 3, we would release our patron stories to the public in increments, as well as the preseason stories for the public. So I think they still received something at least monthly while we were gone, if not more. So
great.
Yeah, you're right.
Good. People can expect stuff to continue to come along, and we're obviously we're not, and they should know that we're not taking any breaks. We're diving right into the next part.
Yeah. So join us on Patreon, where the fun is continuing on, or wait until season 3 starts.
Yeah.
Don't wait. Don't wait.
Yeah. Don't wait.
but don't wait, Craig. Just join us on Patreon, because we got lots of stuff for you.
We got lots of cool stuff.
Rock and roll.
Yes. Well, I think that about does it. Thank you, Michael Zenke, for joining us tonight and for being with us and a part of us and on our team with us. Yes, always. And thank you, Graham, for taking time out. You're out and about right now. Thank you for speaking with us tonight.
Happy Canada Day, belated Canada Day.
Happy Canada Day.
Happy belated Canada Day.
And Jason, thank you for letting us interrupt you in your salad.
Yeah, man, that was a good dang salad. I'm so sorry I didn't.
It's okay. Nourishment is always appreciated.
Awesome. Yeah, man.
So, take care, everybody, and take care, fans, and we'll see you soon. Bob Squad!
Good luck.
Bye.
Join us each week after every episode for another edition of Behind the Door.